Chip and I both felt this about the tape, Sid's tape. I don't know how many times I've seen that tape. Ken and I were there in Long Beach. We actually arranged that conference for Sid, and I've never heard it like I heard it yesterday. I was so moved by it, and I heard so many things that I'd not heard before. One of the things that really struck me is when Sid told Barb right after his epiphany, you know, he said to her, "I'm home." And that just hit me again like a ton of bricks. We're home. We're all home. We're always all home. It's never that we're going home or we're not at home. I used to think when I was relating home to wisdom or mind or God, that it was some place to get to. And then something struck me a few years ago at a conference in London when it struck me that wisdom just didn't have my back, or it wasn't a journey to home, that I was home. I got a little glimmer of that made a huge difference for me in how I started to live after that, with a feeling of more safety, you know, a feeling of comfort, a feeling of peace, and that I was never alone, no matter what. Like during this pandemic and going through some challenging times as well, but never feeling alone, always feeling at home, no matter what. And to me, again, that feels like the biggest part of Sid's message to us and to the world. There's no place to go. We're always home. There's really nothing to learn. We already know.
Yeah, I couldn't believe all that was in that bit of recording. I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, everything that he ever really shared was in that one recording. And the part that really hit me for the world, for everybody, is when he was talking about home, what struck me is that's why there's always, always, always a second chance. Mm-hmm. Because home exists, it doesn't really matter. I know we go through things. I know life truly is a contact sport and everybody goes through things, but home is always there. And it really doesn't matter where your thinking's been or what you've been doing or what you've been through. It's all part of life, but home is always there. And every time we fall into that, every time we relax into that place, that home, that land of knowledge, then we get a second chance to see it all from a different place. And so you never, never, never have to worry about losing it. You can't. You really can't. There's always another chance to see it because it's there.
And that we're it. You know, I remember Sid saying that on a tape. I don't remember which tape it was. And again, that really struck me that we are home. Like, you know, not just that we're at home, but we are home. And there's something about the power of that. Whether we've been a student of this, like we have for almost, well, Sid's experience was 48 years ago. So we're coming up to 5 decades. Or whether you've just discovered the principles 2 days ago. You're home. You are home.
That's beautiful. That's why Sid didn't buy into the idea. I can remember somebody saying to him once, we should have a set aside class for beginners. And Sid just went, no way, no way. Because he knew everybody was home. He knew that, I mean, why would it be different from when he spoke to us in the beginning? You know, he wasn't thinking these guys are beginners. He just shared what he knew about where home was, what it was, what was inside of us. And, you know, I remember him saying very clear, I think it's on one of the recordings, that somebody who's never heard of this ever could walk in the door during a talk and jump ahead of everybody in the room. And that's always stuck it with me, just really clearly. And, you know, we've had the privilege of witnessing that through the years. Homeless people, people in prison, busy executives who you can't imagine really listening, you know, and yet all of them have found home, you know. And that whole idea of, let me interpret this for you, doesn't sit well with me. It's like when you listen to Sid Banks, when you listen to those recordings, you are the only person in that room. That's you, you know. It's the same with the principles. I love what Elsie was saying, because it's not that we're discovering the principles, learning about the principles. We are the principles. That the principles to me is that tiny, tiny pinpoint. On one side is nothing, and on the other side is this life that we see. And everything we see is created from those principles. And that's us. We're doing that. We're creating this amazing life that we're seeing, you know. And it's such an amazing gift to think of that it's the ultimate miracle. You know, consciousness itself is the ultimate miracle, right? Sometimes when I get caught up in my head with something, a couple of times I've had a chuckle, because I realize I'm worried about this little deal in my life where I'm thinking about where I am. And meanwhile, I'm living in the middle of a moment-to-moment miracle called consciousness. It is our divine inheritance. It really is, just to have consciousness. Never mind what we do with thought, never mind what we do with consciousness. To be conscious on a moment-to-moment basis is a moment-to-moment miracle.